Sponsorami konferencji Test 2 RS 2012 byli PZU, Microfocus, Luxoft.
Dzisiaj nam opowie o czym, co się nazywa iluzje, o testowaniu software'u, o testowaniu oprogramowania. Hans?
Oh yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you all for coming. I will try to tell you something about what other people think wrong about testing and arguments against this. I don't understand much Polish, however. He told something about paraworse. This week I'm mostly based in Holstein, and I'm doing work on their steam locomotives. So every day I'm coming to Poznan, either at 7:15 or at 6 minutes before 3 o'clock afternoon, and I return 2 hours later. So my typical job is shoveling coal, about one ton of coal from Holstein to Poznan, and then drive back the other way. And there's another guy, typically Englishman, and he does the opposite work. So that's what I do. And that's hobby. And this stuff is what I hope I tell you. I'm sorry, I'm not on Facebook, I'm not on LinkedIn, I'm not on Twitter, I'm not on any of the social media. There's one way to get me, and that's my email address. Nothing else. I'm sorry about it. I'm test consultant. Most of my work is in Norway, a little bit in Sweden, and a little bit in China and other countries. But most of it is in Norway. And I'm the leader of Norwegian testing board. There's this ISTQB thing. You have the same in Poland, Polish testing board, leading the Norwegian people doing that stuff. Now, this is about what other people think about testing. Something of that is old news. I hope so. Something of that is answers to, probably the same answers as you have given to other people who argue with you about testing. But we have to repeat this sometimes. And there are always people who think different. So let's look at this. It's inspired by Jerry Weinberg. He wrote an excellent book, and on the last page of my presentation you get the reference of that book. It's called Perfect Software and Other Illusions About Software Testing. Excellent book. That inspired me to write part of this. And I have another inspiration, that's our Prime Minister in Norway. That's negatively, because he doesn't know what he does. Okay, why this talk? To help you argue. And you have to talk with developers, with users, with managers, with other people about what testing is. Well, I found this, there was this guy, he wanted to sell me a dictionary. Expensive dictionary, paper dictionary, 20 books. I don't remember how much money that should be. And I told him, could you please look up the word testing? And it wasn't in the dictionary. So he asked me, what means testing? I said, well, just this. I tested your dictionary. Okay, so it's like that. There's another fact, and one of the worst facts about testing is people consider you as of minor importance or less qualification. And they call this second-class citizens. And as a tester, you shouldn't be that. You need not be that, because you need a lot of qualification. Well, that's why you are here. Okay, help you get better. Anyway, there are 4 kinds of people and a lot more. I don't have the time to cover the general public. But there are managers, developers, and there are other testers or new testers who think wrong, and there are the users and customers. And customers include users. There's a difference. Customers pay for the software and users use it. And sometimes it's the same. Okay, so let's look at the manager illusions, and there are these.
I'll use microphone.
Oh, I have to use like this? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. 5 illusions. Now the first is the definition of software testing. What means testing? And there's a lot of confusion. And then some managers think anybody could test. And a lot of them think if you have a bad product, you put test afterwards, and then you get a good product after test. Testing in quality. Sometimes this works, actually, but most of the time it doesn't work. And then there's time pressure, and some products never need any test because there's time pressure. And you don't have the time to do that, or you don't have the budget. And then there is some controversy about automated testing. And you saw one of the tools, self-test. And on the other hand, you have exploratory testing. This is people sitting there and playing more or less with the application. Okay, and then you see a Norwegian text. This is because I'm in Poland and I have to learn some Polish. So why don't you just learn some Norwegian? I had to learn a lot of words, and the most important Polish word is nie wolno. I learned that many years ago. I had some friends in Warsaw, and they had a dog. And I never understood the name of the dog, but after I knew them for 2 years, and the dog was dead, and I asked them where was nie wolno. So this is how I learned what that word means. But anyway, I'm sorry this is Norwegian, but essentially it says the following. We have one nice project in Norway. Everybody in software knows this, and that is the electronic ticket system for the metro, buses, and trams in our capital. So you might have something like that in Warsaw, I don't know. Yeah. The new, modern, nice electronic ticketing system. And a year ago, they said, well, it's nearly ready. It's nearly finished. We just have to fix a few small problems, and then everything will be ready for use. The trouble is it's still not in use, and it has been in testing for 6 years. Okay, this is one of the main lies you find from managers. They think testing is no problem. Just a few more tests, then it's finished. And with hopeless systems, this doesn't work. Oh, more up. Okay. And then we have a few other misunderstandings like this. It says, in Norwegian, kan ikke skje, kunne ikke skje, umulig forutse. This can never happen, this could never happen, we could never have imagined things like this. You probably have heard things like that. They have no idea what testers do. Okay. So, what is testing? To show that it works? Yes, sometimes. Sometimes. This is if you need a product for an exhibition or for a presentation. You want to check if it works with a projector. But that is probably not good enough for a product. And we have the opposite one. And the opposite one, you probably heard, is to show it that it doesn't work. And that is the most important fact about testing. Testing is a negative activity, and your goal is to show as many bugs as possible, as many serious bugs as possible. And this is in line with scientific work, because if you want to verify any scientific theory, what you have to do is to try to show it's wrong. And then if a lot of specialists have tried to show it's wrong, it doesn't work, and they cannot show this, then slowly people realize, well, there may be something in the new theory. And the same is about software. You have to be negative, because this is the way to find more bugs. Okay. Norwegian Testing Board made a series of t-shirts, and we give them to people who pass the ISQB exam with especially high marks. So in Norway, if you pass with 90% correct answers, you get a t-shirt. And on the t-shirt is written, certified tester, you make it, I'll break it. Black t-shirts. So next time you do your exams in Norway, and you get the tester slogan. That's definition number 2. However, there's some trouble with this definition, and that is it leads to kind of war with developers. They don't like it. So you have to be more diplomatic somehow. And there are a few other definitions, sub-definitions. So the number 2 on this page is the most important, but there are a few more. Number 3 says, any technique applied including reviews. That's true, that's the ISTQB thing. Static techniques and dynamic techniques. So it's somehow good. I use any technique to find bugs. It may be executing the program, it may be reading the documents and the code through review. So that you could use, or to measure quality. Yeah, because if you execute a lot of tests and a certain percentage of them works and a certain percentage doesn't work, that has at least some relationship to quality. And if you have some experience in testing, if you have done that for years, you have a feeling about how the number of bugs found relates to quality in use. So then you can measure quality. You can also say, I'm measuring risk. Risk is an important word for management. They understand that better than quality. Risk is the possibility that something could go wrong. Or expressed in manager terms, risk is the possibility that I lose my job because something goes wrong. And as a tester, you protect managers from that. So you measure the risk before release. There's the last but one, to improve quality. Does testing improve quality? No, not directly. But if the product is reasonably good, you may actually fix a few bugs and get better quality out of testing than before. It's dangerous to say that, because if you say that, then people believe this is the main purpose of testing. But it's a side effect of testing. It can be a side effect of testing. So maybe you want to put parentheses around this: improve quality. Testing plus debugging plus corrections makes better quality. And then finally, that is important to help learning. Now you want to learn about the software. You want to learn about, what kind of tests did I do? What kind of tests pay off in other areas? So every test you do helps you to learn about the system and helps you to learn about test design and about how to do better testing. I think that is very important for you. It's your agenda. Test. The work in testing should help you learning. And this is the only way. Most of you are young, so you have 30 or 40 years of professional life in front of you. And in order to keep your job in 30 years, you have to be better than now. So you analyze what you are doing in your test work and you try to get better. Help you learn. Okay. This page you don't have in your papers because I wrote it yesterday evening before I got beer. But this is the best definition I've seen. It's from James Bach. And it says, you put question to the product and you get some answers, and then you see if the answers are as expected or as specified. So there are 4 elements. You want to find out which questions to ask, and then you ask questions. That means you put in input commands, and then your product gives you a response, which could be something reasonable or something unreasonable, and then you check if this is correct. And then you need a test oracle. Oh, you have a test oracle? Well, it's a specification, or it's a user manual, or it's asking some people who should know if you have them, or it's your head. It's in your head. You're a reasonable person. You can, hey, is this reasonable or not? Or you have a mechanical oracle and a spreadsheet if it's numerical things. Yeah, or it could be the old program if you have an older program, an older version. Or it could be the competitor's program if there is any. That's the oracle. There's one problem about test oracles, and that is any manual test oracle. That means people's head works badly on Friday afternoon and after beers. So be aware of things like that. A lot of testing is done under time pressure. And if you're not careful about the oracle, then you get a bad oracle, and checking your responses will not be very well. Okay. Anybody can test. So I don't need all these expensive testers. You're 200 expensive testers. I don't need you. I just put any Chinese people who have no idea, and they test. Yeah, it's called outsourcing. Well, you want to argue against it? Why do we need you as a job and a job? Well, general skills. You can read and write. Yeah, some people cannot. And it's probably it's a good idea you can read and write. Probably it's a good idea you are good at writing reports, test reports that other people can understand. Yeah, that's writing skill. It's not just writing. It's being able to express your view in a clear way so other people can understand. And some of you have that skill. Social skills are important because you may have to ask users and customers what they like or what they want or what they don't like. So you have to communicate with other people. Some of you need to be very good at that because not every user will really tell you what they want. You have to interpret that. Okay, then number 2, you need testing method knowledge. Did you do any education in testing at the college or at the university or somehow else? How do you know test design techniques, test management? How do you know about test tools? Are you able to apply that stuff? And the trouble is many developers never learn about this. This would probably be your main edge. It's testing methods and techniques. Okay, then about development. I think most testers should be able to, no, should not be able to, but should have been programmers once. Now, they should have an idea how programming and how design works. If you have no idea how a database is accessed, how a database is built up, then it's difficult to test databases. If you have no idea how to write any kind of code, be it COBOL or Java or whatever, and you have no idea what it means to initialize a variable or to not initialize it, what happens? If you never did any real-time stuff, you have no idea what a race condition is. So there's an important skill is you probably have been developing software once. Some of you. Well, not all of you, but some of you. If you do automated testing, you probably need some scripting skills, and programming helps you. Okay, and finally you need to know about the domain. I remember in one of my first jobs I had to test bank software. And I had no idea about the languages these bankers used. What did the stuff mean? So I quit that job after a very short time. But now I know a lot more about banks. It's strange. Now I could do the job. But at that time I wasn't interested, and it just was strange. So I couldn't put the right questions to the banking system. And you have the same. You know something about some domains, and you know nothing about other domains. Yeah? Test a steam locomotive, and you have some problems. Okay. Next, you can test in quality. You know this doesn't work, but many managers believe it works. Yeah? The product works badly. You do a first test, and it's just horrible. And then the managers tell you, well, just fix it and test more. So you get another 3 weeks. Bugs are fixed. You test more. And what is the result? As horrible as before. Yeah? And so on. They throw bad money after good money. Actually, there are a few stories where this worked. And there are lots of stories where this didn't work. So in general, it's 95%, about 95% of the cases I know, where it's best to tell managers, sorry, this is so bad, please throw it away and start again. You'll probably lose your job telling them. Yeah, on the other hand, it's part of your CV. Saying, I'm a good tester. I did reasonable test reports, so hire me. I did that twice and got a new job. Actually, the same company hired me again when they did it again. But that took 3 years, because first they fired me as a consultant, then they used another 2 years to test the same product, and then after 600 million Norwegian kroner, that's 300 million zlotys, they found, it's hopeless anyway. And then they started over again, and a year later I was in there as a consultant. So you have to survive 3 years. It's expensive. Yeah, and there's lots of examples like that. However, if the product is quite good, it's stable, and in most cases it works, then you may have a chance. Yeah, there's a fine boundary. Okay, no more. Some products need no testing. Well, I'm not sure about this. I don't know of any products which don't need testing. Do you know of any? I don't know. So, and you never know. That is the thing. With testing, you know something about a product. Without testing, you don't know anything about the product. This is
what I mean with you never know. So you have to run at least one test. Does it work at all? And I know some of these tests, for example, installing the product, and it doesn't even install. That's very nice. And there are too many possibilities anyway. So, no more about this. Automated testing and exploratory testing. You have different gurus. You have the people who sell you automated testing tools, like the Silk test tool. And they say automated testing is very important. Yes, I agree. Automated testing is very, very important, and a lot more of that should be done. But then there are other people, they say, oh, shit about this scripted testing, automated testing is running the same idiotic testing again and again. We swear to exploratory testing. Exploratory testing is test by improvisation. And you try out the product and you learn more and you do more tests. Okay, they are two different methods and you need both of them. If you look at the newest literature about exploratory testing, then you find they do this, but first they did everything else. There's one good book by the director of test of Google, James Whittaker, about how Google applies exploratory testing. And then between the lines you find, oh yeah, they did unit tests and automated unit tests and automated integration tests and automated system tests and a very, very high coverage. Yeah, they apply coverages you never dreamt of anybody would do. And then additionally, they use exploratory testing. So this is the state of the art. You need both of them. Interesting with this, the brain is in the loop. And that's important. You see what is happening and you think about new test cases. That's an important skill. And it's flexible. You can you see where the bugs are and you test more where the bugs are, for example. But exploratory testing needs a reasonably stable system. And if you want a stable system, you have to test it systematically before. That's the problem. So you need both. Now, developers. Other developers, they have some illusions. My software has no bugs. Heard that? You don't need to test this. Has no bugs. Well, they are optimists. I've never seen bug-free software. So you just have to tell them, sorry, I have to test that anyway. And if they believe there are no bugs, there are definitely bugs, because this is too optimistic. Software is complex. Now the next is, testers are going to find the bugs anyway. So they don't say there are no bugs. They say, I just don't care about my bugs because you, tester, you independently test my software. So I leave all the bugs for you. That's a nasty one. I'll use a minute or so for that. And then the last one, after we got all these unit testing tools like JUnit, NUnit, and so on, some people thought, oh, good unit testing is good enough. We have high coverage, we have full automated unit testing, so there cannot be any bugs surviving. So there are a few arguments about this. This too few to care, I leave out because of time pressure, but testers will find the bugs anyway. This is not true. Testing is a filter. If you put garbage in, there's garbage out. It's just like dirty water. You put a filter in, if it's very dirty, then what comes out is still dirty. It's like that. Or it's like picking garbage in the street. If there's garbage all over, you can pick a lot of garbage, but there still will be garbage left. And that's the fact. Good testing removes 50%, maybe 40, maybe 60, maybe 20. I don't know, but you should know. And that means you should have measurements in place. What does your testing? because it's not 100%. It's never 100%. It's something less. And I know bug statistics collected by one of the gurus, Schaefer Jones. And he says the better part of industry is about 50%. There are no testing methods giving you more than 50% of the bugs. Even in good companies, there's only one method that is better, and that's inspection. But that is document inspection. It's not the test you normally know. Okay. And then risk compensation. What is risk compensation? It's this idea, the test is fine in any way. By the way, there's a lot of risk compensation with your car driving. You have a modern car, it's so much safer so you can drive faster. That's also risk compensation, and total risk is the same afterwards. So, okay. Thorough unit testing. You have unit integration system integration test. Read the ISTQB syllabus, and there you see what is the task of the different tests. So I don't want to discuss this. But unit testing just finds some bugs, and the other tests find some other bugs. And acceptance test finds even other bugs. And the system may be bug-free, but not useful. So different objectives. Don't cut out levels. Definitely don't. Now, customer and user illusions. One is buy it and forget it. They don't want to spend any time and material on testing. They just buy it and they think, okay, we buy it and then it works. But maybe not. Not for expensive products. No need to test, and testers need no communication. So let's have a look at buy it and forget it is dangerous. You do this with small products you buy in the city. If you are a private person, you buy a new shirt. You give them 100 zlotys and then you forget about the shirt. You never test that. You buy Microsoft Windows license for that. I don't know how many hundreds for your PC. You buy a new Windows. Do you test that? No. Why? It's too cheap. That's too cheap. But your company buys a new piece of software and pays $1 million, and then you should definitely do some test. So there are differences. There are standard products tested by thousands or millions of other people before, and they are cheap. They probably don't test. But if it's special, it's too expensive. Okay. I don't have time for everything.
10 minutes.
How many?
10 minutes.
10 minutes? Whoa. Anyway, I don't want to. You can rather ask me afterwards. We do not need to test with Microsoft Windows, maybe. With Word and Office and Firefox and stuff like that, because it's too cheap. But okay, if you have contracts, there is something called acceptance testing, and that should be a serious undertaking. Some of you work in acceptance testing. Customers and users don't think it's so important they are part of it. So they say, oh, you just make the software and we look at it afterwards. Now that plainly doesn't work. They need to be there. And they need to tell you which test scenarios are good to test and which are bad to test and which are misunderstood. Now you make test scenarios or test cases and you discuss them with the customers and or users. And I hope you have partners who take the time to read it and take the time to give you feedback. It's very important. This is one of the key things. You don't know what they need. So you have to ask the users, and they need time. They have usage knowledge. They know what they are going to do with this product. And you have to listen to them. I have a lot of stories. My wife is a doctor and she hates the new electronic patient administration system they have in her hospital. Because in order for her to do day-to-day jobs, she has to go up 3 levels to the main menu, then go down another 7 levels to some sub-menu, and then do something. And then when trying to save, the system stops, crashes, and she has to do everything again. So she says something, I need 20 minutes for every patient, and I need another 15 minutes to fight against the system. This is usage knowledge, but her system has never been tested by doctors. Now, the supplier has tested it with everybody else who could be in the hospital. No, not everybody else, but nurses and economy people and secretaries, but no doctors, because doctors were too expensive to ask. So no user knowledge, and the system is unusable. Okay. Users need to know what testers know about bugs. Sometimes you have to tell them what you know about typical bugs. Give them warnings. So actually in projects you need 3 kinds of people. You need developers, testers, and users or customers. Okay, tester illusions. Oh yeah, that's your own or your colleagues. I'm allowed to stop bad software. I like that. The quality police. Yeah, I need to test everything. I can test everything. If it works, it's good enough. Oh yeah. Okay, let's look at that. Being the quality police, sorry, you're not. This is a bad idea because you don't add any value to the project. If you don't believe that, look at the Norwegian government, how they handle the country. We have a few stories of foreigners, qualified foreigners in Norway, and they throw them out because something with the paper is not very good. One of the famous people they threw out of the country actually was allowed into Poland a little bit more than a year ago. And here she was very welcome. Well, qualified person. Anyway, don't be the quality police. Yeah, you're not allowed to stop anything. You are allowed to give some recommendations about the system. This works badly. It's a high risk. But the decision is your manager. And if they decide wrong, nobody can tell that testing decided wrong. It's management that decided wrong. So you don't lose your job. And sometimes there's market pressure. You just have to release a bad product because this is the last chance for the company to survive. You release a bad product, like Microsoft. Most of that stuff doesn't work in the first version. But they grab the market, they grab a market share, and they finally earn a lot of money. You could do a lot better than they do and others do, but they don't have a market because everybody bought Microsoft first. So this is one of the lessons about being quality police or not. Okay, yeah, 3 minutes. Yeah, I need to test everything. Sorry, no. You need to test the most important parts of the product. And it's very important. Whenever you test, think about, is it important or less important? Now the important things get a red color, everything else gets green color. So you test the red color test. I can't test everything. No, sorry. There's too much to test. Now it's always a very thin thing you cannot. If it works, it's good enough. This is for prototypes or for exhibition software. It's not for real software. You have to be destructive and test the wrong inputs. It's not good enough that the good inputs work, test the wrong inputs. And there are platforms and other things. Thorough system testing. developers think unit testing, you are responsible for system testing. System testing doesn't fix unit problems. Sorry. Yeah, and there's a lot more illusions. I don't have time for these. There's a lot more. Think about this. What I hope you can do is take part of this presentation and use it for your own people and present them what are true things about testing. Here are my 3 references: the book by Jerry Weinberg, Get It, and the book by James Whittaker. It's good to read in bed, even after beers. It's interesting. The trouble is, if you start to read the Whittaker book in the evening, you probably will not sleep because it's difficult to quit. Yeah, and finally there is the Lisa Crispian and Tip House book about automated unit testing. But I love that because they say a tester is not a vacuum cleaner. Yeah, you are not there in order to clean up software, you are there in order to professionally test software. And that is lovely. Okay. Thank you for your attention.
We are a lot out of time, so only 2 questions.
You said in the beginning that testing not increase the quality, and I fully agree with this, not in the right way. But I would like to ask if you can agree with the contestants that we should say something more, that testing have the same influence on quality as development, business analytics, project management, this kind of thing. Because if we say only that we are not responsible or not in straight way responsible, it's not a good way of saying this. If we say we are on the same level responsible as developer, as
yeah, that's true. You have an influence on quality, and you should influence quality by asking the right questions as early as possible. That's true, definitely.
Yeah, but for me it's very important to say that this influence is on the same level as other role in the process. So the question is why we do a conference about testing and quality, but developers never do the conference about development and quality, and analytics doesn't do the conference about business analytics and quality. So we still ourselves binding testing and quality, but this is not the truth.
I don't know why the others have less focus on that. It's probably it's easiest to say, oh, quality, that's the tester's thing, the tester's responsibility. This is traditional thinking. Actually, everybody is responsible for quality. Analysts, developers, users, customers who tell us and who require something, or who buy bad quality instead of requiring better. And we. Okay.
Thank you. Last question, if any. So thank you, Hans, once more.
Thank you.
Sponsorami konferencji Test 2 RS 2012 byli PZU, Microfocus, Luxoft.